Our story today, it's one that's relevant to each and every one of us. We work today in very, very stressful work environments. And because of mobile phones, because of laptops, we're actually always on the job, hours on a stretch, endlessly. You know, the 6 p.m. end doesn't actually mean a 6 p.m. end. You can always be contacted. And sometimes, under all of that workload, all one can do is cope, all one can do is worry. Anxiety. Now, it's just the start of your Wednesday morning. Why are we talking about stress so early in the morning? Because one of the biggest results of that stress is a cortisol belly. Elevated amounts of the stress hormone cortisol in particular. It can lead to fat accumulation around your belly, and it's a particular kind of stubborn fat. So sometimes even if you're eating healthy or you're doing your best to eat healthy, you're doing your best to get in a good walk, that fat may not go because stress is the big cause. And what's more is some doctors actually believe that Indians could be more susceptible to this than others. Now, you know that on the Breakfast Club, we like to look at solutions, and we want you to go about your day armed with information and a bucket of solutions, not just for yourself, but also so you can share it with everyone, the people you love around you. So we thought today we'd go out, and obviously we're going to speak to a team of experts. We'll understand exactly what this phenomenon is, how it works, so what's the science behind it, and most importantly, we want to empower you. So what can you do about it? Our first pit stop is, of course, with the doctor. Dr. Himika Chawla is an endocrinologist, which means that hormones like cortisol are something that she specializes in. Let's go over to her to understand more. Dr. Himika, thank you for joining us. Let me just tell our audiences your formal desig first. You're a senior consultant of both endocrinology and diabetology at PSRI Hospital in Delhi. They should know that. Okay, tell us, doctor, what exactly is cortisol? And what's the connection? So how is cortisol ending up manifesting for many of us in really, really stubborn belly fat down here? What exactly is happening?
Okay. So cortisol is basically a hormone which is produced from the adrenal glands. Now, these are situated above both of our kidneys. The primary function of this hormone is actually to mount a flight and fight response when our body senses danger. So whenever we are dealing with an acutely stressful situation, this hormone comes into play and helps us with dealing with situations like these. Now, talking about cortisol belly, basically small amounts of this hormone are important, and they are required on a daily basis to deal with our, little stresses of life and the acutely stressful situations also. But when these hormones are elevated on a longer term, chronically and persistently, they, tend to cause accumulation of fat around the abdomen. The mechanism is that, when the cortisol level rises, it causes our body to release glucose. Now, this glucose is required, as a part of energy utilization to, sort of react to any stressful situation. But if we are actually not having acutely physically stressful situation, this energy will not be utilized, and this energy, which is in the form of blood glucose, the high blood glucose in the body, would cause our insulin levels to rise. Now, this chronic elevation of insulin levels and insulin resistance is what happens when we have cortisol levels high for a longer period of time. And both of these hormones, the cortisol and the insulin, and especially the insulin resistance, cause another hormone which is called as the lipoprotein lipase to rise. And this particularly causes the fat to deposit around the abdomen, which we call as the cortisol belly.
So we're focusing, doctor, today on stress being one of the causes. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how the stress is leading to any of this happening? What's that link?
Yeah, so basically we use two parameters when we define obesity. So body mass index is something that we commonly know, which is your weight divided by your height in meters to the square. So we have different cutoffs for BMI. For the Asian Indian population, a BMI cutoff of 23, less than 23 kgs per meter square is considered as normal. And then when it is high, we have various degrees of overweight and obesity. But what is usually ignored is the waist circumference, which is also another very important parameter parameter of obesity, which is the central adiposity or the abdominal obesity. So the cutoff for waist circumference is 94 centimeters for males and 80 centimeters for females. So somebody who has a waist circumference higher than this can consider themselves to have abdominal obesity. So when we're talking about this cortisol belly or abdominal obesity, it's not just about the mere appearance, or that it looks ugly. It has much more to it, and it is actually something which is associated with very high levels of insulin resistance. And one who has this particular fat deposition around the abdomen, it is basically visceral fat. This fat is around the abdominal organs or deep in the intra-abdominal cavity.
So then are all bellies, doctor, this will sound like a dumb question, but I want anyone watching to know, are all bellies then cortisol bellies?
No, not all bellies are cortisol bellies. So everybody, there are people who have high levels of BMI also. Somebody who's overall obese is going to have a higher waist circumference also. So of course, not all bellies are cortisol bellies, and there are people, and especially there are a lot of factors always involved in obesity. Cortisol is just one factor which is causing obesity. So obesity starts with unhealthy dietary practices. It starts with a lack of exercise.
Sure.
It starts with a high level of stress in our body, and possibly not catching up on enough sleep. So there are multiple factors which are involved, and of course unhealthy lifestyle is extremely important and a starter point for the obesity. But yes, cortisol is also a very important factor, which is now gaining more importance because of the kind of stressful lifestyles that we have.
Right.
So we are dealing with a lot of stress at workplace. We are dealing with a lot of stress with our sort of personal relationships also. So overall, the us dealing with stress chronically has increased. So we are dealing with chronic low levels of stress all the time, rather than intermittently having these acute high levels of stress that we possibly earlier had, which is why we are increasingly seeing this cortisol related increase in the belly fat.
So doctor, tell us, if people, our TVC family is watching this at home, what can they look for in their own bodies as other signs of high cortisol?
Basically, cortisol has its relevance, on three fronts, I would say. One is, when you have a pathological excess of cortisol in your body, you have a tumor in your adrenal gland which is producing excess cortisol. Secondly, cortisol or steroids are commonly abused drugs in Indian patients, especially, quacks, and, these are available as over-the-counter drugs to suppress a lot of skin disorders and respiratory disorders. For joint pains, they're commonly abused. So these people could have high levels of cortisol in their body because they are exogenously receiving these steroids from outside. So now these two group of patients, ones who have pathological causes of high cortisol in their body because of a tumor or because they're taking steroid tablets, they would have the worst form of manifestations, which would include not just fat around the abdominal area. It's actually a centripetal fat distribution, more fat around the trunk between your, scapular folds, and more around the abdomen, and relatively thinner extremities. So when you have high levels of stress, you not only have accumulation of fat in the central part of the body, you also start losing muscle. So that is why your extremities, they become thinner as compared to the rest of your body. Apart from that, in women, it can also lead to appearance of facial hair, rounding of their face, loss of scalp hair, excessive amount of acne. It can disturb their menstrual cycles also.
Let me tell our audiences, extremities are your legs, your hands. When we're saying that might get thinner, we mean your extreme parts of your bodies, your legs and your hands. Doctor, tell us, do you see a lot of cases of cortisol belly in a day, and is it particularly high in Indians?
See, I cannot give you an exact number on this, but yes, it's very common. And there is a bias also, because I am an endocrinologist. I see diabetic patients every day. So I'm selectively seeing the diseased
Sure.
population, and that to people who are having type 2 diabetes. So this particular form of, having more fat around the abdominal area. So this is, somewhere where we differ quite a lot from the Western counterparts, our Western counterparts also. So when you see in the Americas or the Europe, there the overall fat is higher, so they are obese overall, and they have higher levels of BMI. But in the Indian population, our BMIs are not that high. That is why we have a lower cutoff for BMI also when we are defining
Wow.
overweight and
Okay.
obesity. But a lot of our patients have this fat around the abdominal. So we also have a term which is called as the thin fat Indian. Now, this thin fat Indian means that we have fat mostly centered around the abdominal or the truncal area,
Thin fat
and
Indian.
the hands and feet again are thinner because the muscle is being lost, which is there in the hands and feet, and we have more selective fat
Ah.
accumulation around the central part of our body. So this is pretty common, and this is the common form of body fat distribution that we see in Indian patients. So yes, it's quite common, but I would definitely have a selection bias because I'm seeing more
Right.
patients. I'm all the time seeing patients with type 2 diabetes.
That's still so interesting. Thin fat, that term is a big takeaway for us here this morning. Can you tell us, if we just step away, why did we evolve to be this way? Because you said we're different from our American counterparts, for example. How did we come to be this way?
We do have a hypothesis which is called as the thrifty gene hypothesis. So, basically, about 200 to 50 years back, we were dealing with low food availability. There were famines. So, in that time, the body developed this tendency to easily store the extra energy as fat, which would have an evolutionary advantage later on when we are stuck at the time of famines. So, this tendency has possibly retained with us, and whatever extra energy we have, we tend to store it as fat for utilization later on. And we definitely have this higher tendency of fat accumulation around the abdominal area as compared to our Western counterparts.
Wow, so historical famines might be the cause. Just tell us, because we love to tell our audiences solutions, and that's what we want them to walk away with. Medicines or stress management exercises, which way would you look?
I would say it's not just one thing, and it's everything which needs correction for us to get the desired outcome. So, first of all, of course, stress management is important, and we need to deal with the stress by different means. Of course, different things work for different people. Yoga, relaxation, mindfulness,
Okay.
deep breathing exercises. There are lots of options available, and in fact, if you're not able to deal with this mental stress on your own, you can do take the help of counselors and mental health specialists on that. But definitely, stress management is the way to go, and not just because it disturbs your cortisol balance, but stress also influences our eating behavior. So people who are stressed, they've been seen to selectively crave for things which are high on energy. They have preferential overeating of things which are high in sugars and fats. They find comfort in eating
Right.
these foods. So stress does alter our eating behavior also. So management of stress is important. Apart from this, of course, we need to consciously look into our diet and overcome these cravings and try to eat a balanced diet which is rich in fibers. Carbohydrates also need to be included in diet, but they need to be good quality carbohydrates with good amount of fibers, good amount of proteins in our diet, and restricting the intake of processed foods, particularly sugary foods, oily foods.
Dr. Himika, I want our audiences to go away with very clear takeaways. We love that here on TBC. So just tell us, break it down for us. You touched on it, but good and bad foods. Just could you tell our audiences more?
So the right kinds of food would be, foods which give us a good nutritive value. So of course, we know that the food is categorized into carbohydrates, proteins, and fat, and all three of them have their relevance and they need to be incorporated in our diet in a relevant proportion. When we talk about carbohydrates, they are generally the foods which would cause these sugary spikes and release the blood glucose quickly into our circulation. So when we eat carbohydrates, we have to be mindful about the kind of carbohydrates that we eat. So
Okay.
something like a refined processed flour like maida would have a high glycemic index and would release sugars quickly into our circulation, which is something not very desirable. Vis-a-vis a multi-grain flour, which has a good amount of, millets or chana flour added to the regular wheat, which lowers down its glycemic index, and the blood glucose is then released slowly into the circulation. The idea is to prevent the spikes of insulin or release that happen concurrent to a spike of blood glucose that happen into our body. So
Okay.
these chronically high levels of insulin ultimately result in insulin resistance, which is the most common cause of obesity in India and globally.
Dr. Emika, thank you so much for joining us and arming us with all of this information to start our Wednesday morning with.